You are tuned to Kennett, Zenith Cablevision. Thank you for watching. It's time for talk. Each evening at this time, Monday through Friday, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. Time for Talk is a community betterment service. Tonight, Rosemary takes us by means of portable camera out of our studios and maybe into your neighborhood. And now, it's time for Talk.
Well, Laura, you have really gotten into this thing. I think you have another talent besides writing, and I think it must be painting because you have done this. How long ago did you do this?
I did this back during the summer. I did this.
And it's from this photograph right here. Can you see it all right? All right, from this photograph, done an excellent job. How long did it take you to do this?
It took me about 2 days.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay.
About 16 hours in all.
Okay. And he has here the typical cane with the gold-headed, with the gold head to it. Tonight we're continuing with A Tiny Love Story. This is a manuscript of a book that's being prepared by a Zenith Hornersville girl, Laura Darr. And we've come into her study and we're asking how she has done the research and what she's doing.
It was while they were in Kansas City. And Major, the circus was there, and it just so happened he ran into her there, and she was very religious. And
now, they're the same size.
Right. She was 37 inches tall.
And he's 36.
36.
She's 1 inch tall. She's perfect. She's a midget.
Right. She was perfect. However, she was blind in one eye.
Okay.
And he just felt, the minute he saw her, evidently I spoke with Miss Jenny, who was at Mark Tree at the nursing home about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Now, who is she?
She's Jenny's niece.
Okay.
And she knew Jenny. She was old enough that she could tell me about Jenny. She couldn't tell you what she had for breakfast, but she knew everything back to when she was like 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old. She had that, but she said that Jenny was very flighty. She would start things, and her sister would have to finish. Her sister would have to finish it, or her mother would have to finish things. She was very religious, though. And she said that the two, Jenny and Major, met at the circus there in Kansas City, and she was sitting on a bench reading her Bible when they met. And he saw her, they saw each other, and she said it was love at first sight.
Aha. Well, how long after that did they marry?
It was almost a year.
Now, you said you had a love letter, and that this sort of spurred your original interest.
I was aware of the love letter from my aunt and uncle, but it was lost for 7 years. They couldn't find it.
This is a copy.
Right, the original.
Page after page.
Right.
And you have translated this?
Yes.
Is it sweet?
Oh, it is beautiful. It gave me everything I needed to know, and what I already knew, but as far as their relationship, of how much he loved her, he calls her his fairy queen, and he's the luckiest little man in the world because he has a fairy queen all of his own.
Okay, he writes this from Trenton,
Missouri.
Trenton, Missouri. He starts, "My dear little Jenny," and it's written July 28th, 1890.
Right.
And you poured over this and shed a few tears over this.
You bet.
Now, is he trying to get her to marry him in this letter?
What he's doing here is he's pouring his little heart out. He's already written her several letters, and he's already asked her to marry him previously, through previous letters. And but now then, as you can see, it says, "Only let your parents see this."
Oh, he wrote that on there?
Yes, he wrote that on there. He said, "Only let your parents..."
Not many men who write a letter to their girlfriend will say, "Let your parents see this."
Right.
Okay.
But he tells her of all the bad things that happen in the circus. He wants her to know everything.
So he's saying, "Marry me, but you'll have to travel with me in a circus."
Right. And
is he encouraging her to be in the circus also?
I believe he is, because he knows that that's the only way that he can provide for her. And he lets her know that, that he loves her. He'll always take care of her. And he also reveals, he tells her that he has a secret.
He has a secret.
He has a secret, and that he is afraid if she knows about the secret that she won't marry him.
Do you know what the secret? Does he tell her? He doesn't tell her.
He doesn't
here.
tell her what the secret is.
Do you know what the secret is?
I know what the secret is.
But she's not going to tell us.
I'm not going to tell.
It would not be a secret.
That's right.
But do you reveal it in the book?
I reveal it in the book.
Now, how did you find out?
I talked with his nephew in West Memphis.
All right. So he still has relatives, and she has relatives that you are.
Right.
All right. So they met. They married in what year?
They married in 1891.
Okay,
February.
1891. So this was a year before they married.
Right.
And she began. Did she begin to tour with him in the Did they marry in the circus?
No, they didn't marry in the circus. Now,
I thought I had heard a rumor that they married. It was a big hoopla.
a big hoopla. Well, from what I can find, from what I understand from the family, they were married at home. And that's what one of those pictures I have is the wedding picture.
It's a wedding picture. Now, is this in her home?
Right. This is in her home in Yates Center.
Yates Center?
Kansas.
Okay.
Okay? And in fact, the picture up here, a lot of people believe that it was the wedding picture.
It's not?
But it's not
I
the
think
wedding
I have
picture.
had this picture pointed out to me as the wedding picture.
This picture was taken in Australia. On their tour, it was taken in Sydney, Australia.
Now, she looks more than an inch taller than he is there.
She had some heels on, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
On her little boots. Because I've noticed on her little boots that, from the clothing, that I saw.
You've seen her boots. You've seen her actual clothing.
Right. Yeah, I visited with her nephew, and they let me see all of the clothing. They had it all laid out for me. I walked in and just cried. I couldn't believe it. Everything was laid out for me.
You have familiarized yourself so with her that you feel as if you know her.
Yeah, well, I know both of them.
You know both of them.
I have a friend that tells me that these she says that they're little angels that work through me. She says because the things that I do, some things there's no way I could know about, and then as time goes on, they come out true. For instance, whenever my aunt and uncle bought the property, the book, I began the story with a young couple buying a house, and in the attic they find a trunk. My mother told me that my aunt and uncle found a box, but I wanted to dress it up and fluff it, make it better, literary license there, and I made it a trunk. Well, when my aunt and uncle arrived, later she told them about it, and they said, well, it was a trunk. That was the trunk that I saw with all the clothing and everything.
Okay. All right.
And things like that have happened all the way, and they say that I've had my girlfriend say, well, they're just laying little things in front of you all the way so that you know how to go and where to go.
All right. So you have, how many pages is this book going to have?
It will probably have, in the end, probably about anywhere from 500 to 600.
Okay.
Now, that's in manuscript, which it will probably be about 400 or 500 in book form. Right.
Okay, now you followed them then. They married at home, at her home. Why not in the circus? Why not a big attraction and all the people come?
I believe Papa didn't want her to. Papa had a hard time accepting the fact that she was going to be with a bunch of charlatans, as it was.
You know this from writings.
Right.
From his point of view, was the circus people were not honest?
Well, of course, we all know during that time what circus people were considered, you know, and kind of like the carnival people, carnies, you know. But from the family that I talked with the family, and they would say, well, he wasn't too thrilled with it. And in the letter here, he talks.
Can you imagine? He felt like not only was she his little girl, she was his little doll almost.
Exactly. It was someone that would always stay a baby.
Yes.
She would always stay like 4 or 5 years old.
And yet they had, both of them, I know the major did, her mind was good, right?
Oh, yes.
Fully,
Right. They were both highly intelligent. In fact, through this letter I found that she worked with the farmers in a lot of the farmers' organizations, and in fact she made speeches. Also, public appearances for the farmers.
I don't know where they'd stand her up to talk. Maybe up on the rostrum.
Oh, right. But she created banners for them. She also painted. She painted things on dresses.
So she was quite a talented
yes,
young lady.
Very talented.
Now, they traveled with the circus, with different circuses. Did they stay with one? This Will Stowe thing, did they travel with that?
No, he was with Will Stowe for only 3 months. It burned just outside. It sank and burned just outside.
What do you mean it sank? And how can a circus sink?
It was a showboat circus. The first one was showboat.
Oh.
And they traveled along the rivers. And they approached Memphis one night, headed for Cairo, Illinois. And it caught fire there about 4:30 in the morning, and most everything was burned. Instead of trains, they traveled by the boat. And it burned. So what happened was a watchman had left a lantern too close to some jute, tar, and oil that wasn't covered properly, and it caught the boat on fire, and it killed the owners. It killed the Stowes and their 2 children, and a whole lot more. I mean, nearly everyone was lost. And that was one of the misnomers, the things that were given in articles in newspapers that I found, and even in my own, was that they said he was with them for 3 years. Well, he wasn't with them 3 years. He was with them 3 months.
So, and was not married at this time.
Exactly.
And he was able to get off.
Right. And he went on to Sells Brothers. And I believe Frank Stowe went with Sells Brothers after that. And I believe that's probably how, I'm not sure, but I believe that's probably how Major got with Sells Brothers.
Okay. And he stayed with them then for years.
Exactly. He stayed many years. Whenever they came back in 1892, they came back from Europe. That's when the Giants, Captain Shields and his wife, Annie, joined.
So this circus really had as its claim to fame 2 midgets and 2 giants.
Right, and they were set against each other as the total opposites.
Well, of course. Would they appear together? Would you have to... Well, everybody would just go to see this. How big were the giants, do you know?
Shields was 7'7", and Annie was 7'9".
7'7" and 7'9", as opposed to 36 and 37 inches.
Right.
Oh yeah, I would have paid to see that sight.
Yeah, but they became best friends. The 4 did. They were best friends. And
I think they'd have to be careful not to step on them.
More than likely.
Now, actually, did they not settle in the Hornersville community after they retired from circus life?
Right. Well, they got tired of it, and they convinced the Shields to move to Hornersville with them.
Okay.
And they opened a store there.
Oh, the 4 of them opened a store in Hornersville.
Right, the 4 opened a grocery store. Well, after a year or so, that itch to get back into the circus came on. It's kind of like a harvester. Once that stuff begins to turn,
it gets in the blood. I've heard this.
Yes. And so they went back, but they went back with the Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. The Shields had been with Buffalo before.
Okay, now, you had a picture to Major and Mrs. Ray from this friend?
Right, from
Buffalo Bill Cody. About what year are we talking about here with Buffalo Bill?
That was about 1902.
Okay.
Time for